I'm gonna fix my screen real quick and we'll get you rolling. So again, I'm going to give you guys concepts and strategies, and then give you guys an opportunity to maybe take some of these concepts and help modify the plan you guys utilize yourself, and then give you other strategies and examples of at least giving you the opportunity to be more successful with your specific plan in regards to nutrition. I mean, so the real problem we see is most people wait until they're hungry, tired, stressed. It's pretty challenging to make a good decision when you have some of these components going on. And that's typically why we see people struggle with nutrition is not having some type of structure around what you're doing and operating on a daily basis. I know it takes time, just like anything. The more you focus on it, the better it will get. So if we don't focus on nutrition, well, your nutrition is probably not going to be good unless you already have that skill set mastered. So, it does take time, preparation, thought for proper execution. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to hear this. There's just a simple component you can do. There is, but typically you're gonna have to pay for convenience because there is a lot of meal prep services and things of that nature, and that's why it costs, obviously, because it allows you to save time for yourself. But anyway, that's more of the problem. So here's what we see typically happen. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems, right? So if you have good systems in place, when shit hits the fan, that's a fallback mechanism, right? So that way you do have some things in place when things are not perfect. Just happened to me the other day at the gym. Typical Monday at the gym. My routine, second week, rep schemes, everything's set to go, and then everybody and their brothers on the equipment I want to use. So it happens. You just have to be adaptable, and this is the same situation. You have to have a plan in place if things are not perfect. So, and your body's going to reflect your daily defaults. What's your default? It'll tell you that, not your intentions, because a lot of times we have great intentions, but if we can't execute it, then that's when we kind of run into some problems. So here's some of the pillars of what we would like to have you guys, implement in some format that makes sense to you. And again, I repeat this often. I'm sorry, but it is one of the components. We always want to understand protein first. Again, what does that look like for you? Again, controls hunger, consistency. Do you have some type of repeatable meals for yourself, for your family, or however that looks like for you? Because obviously we have all different individuals we work with, from kids out of the house to kids young. So we have a wide variety. So you have to have some type of plan in place that's going to minimize decision fatigue for you. So don't overcomplicate things. And then you really want some type of planned convenience built in within your system. And I'll talk a little bit about that and some stuff we do. So that way, when stuff doesn't go as planned, it prevents bad decisions or, really falling off your plan totally and or kicking you into a setback. And then you hear me talk quite often about environment because environment is such a big mechanism that it really doesn't get looked at well enough, or we negate it a lot. So when you set your environment up, you want to make success automatic. So that way, again, you're less likely to totally go off script and stay on that 80% marker point. Again, why protein first? Or if protein is low, and then you'll see this happen, more cravings, uh, poor energy, typically a cycle of overeating. This is just an example because I know we coach a lot of you individuals to hit around this marker point per meal, for you specifically. Now, again, we have some ranges within this, but what's 30 grams of protein look like? I'm just giving you, a couple different examples. And these are examples, obviously, we execute ourselves. Excuse me, I'm still fighting off this upper respiratory thing. So 5 ounces of chicken. I know that's not sexy by any means, but if you have, that protein around, obviously 5 ounces is going to get you around that 30-gram marker point. You can start building a meal off that, and then you could go into salads and different things from there. Breakfast options, 4 eggs plus egg whites. Again, it's another example. I just personally, I'll do 4 eggs and then I'll add other protein content with my either cottage cheese or Greek yogurt. So I just do it a little bit different. Again, Greek yogurt is a mainstay here at our house. We have it all the time. It's part of the weekly routine. So is eggs. So is chicken. So you'll get into some of the repeatable patterns that we personally do, and then you guys got to figure out what makes sense for you. Again, we'll get into some structure components that you guys can work on yourselves. So I use this as well. Actually, I do 2 scoops of protein. Anytime I use protein powder, I typically double up. So I go around 50 grams. That's just me personally, because I'm pushing about 200 grams of protein minimum. I'm under that market point someday, but that's again, each person's different a little bit. But this is a way for you can quickly almost hit that 30-gram marker point per meal. Makes it tangible, makes it you can apply it in many situations. So here's some other strategies that I would like you guys to think about. What is your protein system? What does that look like for you? You can choose, I mean, you don't have to go five. You can keep it 3 or 4. What are your, go-to proteins that you enjoy or your family enjoys? So you really got to start from there and then think about 5 fast protein options. Again, you may not hit five, right? You may keep it 3, keep it simple in the beginning, and then always have things available or always have these protein components available within your environment in some format, right? So whether you work from home, in an office, on the road, this is where things can get tricky if you don't kind of have a system in place and or the discipline process to if you're going to eat out, which we'll talk about here in a second as well. So you always want to have those proteins available. If it's not easy, many times it's easy to fall off, right? It's easy to make excuse. It's easy to get tired, not execute. So when you set yourself up for success, it's a lot easier to follow a system and execute based upon the system that works for you. So this could be one of your non-negotiables. You guys hear me talk about non-negotiables quite often. Those are things you build in your life, and it becomes a portion of who you are. And just like brush your teeth, you probably want to make that a non-negotiable. I hope. But anyway, you want to figure out what the non-negotiables are for you. But this could be something that's pretty simple to put in place for your nutritional component. Is always having some type of protein component available in your house that's easy in some format. And this is where, I mean, obviously, um, variety does go a long way, but sometimes what happens is we try to complicate things too much. Now, if you're, some of you may be really good at and enjoy the process of preparing and cooking meals. Some people do, some people don't. So, um, some of you may have a lot more variety than others within your palate and what you do on a consistent basis. I mean, that's going to be an individual component. Now, obviously, we need some variety to mitigate some of the burnout components that could happen, right? So there's some ways to have some variety or build some variety in within the systems you have. So, but at the end of the day, we need consistency or close enough to continue to see adaptation and the needle moving because it does take repetitive 7-day, 14-day, 21 day. It takes those components, those consistent components to really stack the wins and move the needle, you know, for extended period of time and for obvious long-term success. And then what we want to think about is like, okay, what's your, and I would say 2 to 3 go-to breakfast. You can build it out further. You can actually go to 4, if you'd like. What is the lunch component? What does that look like? What are your go-tos? What is what feels satisfying but stays within your calorie ranges or your goals of your protein? So really trying to start thinking about how you can structure yourself for success with those 3 meals you guys typically consume. And then what is dinner? Dinner can be a variety of components because you sometimes you have a little bit more flexibility. And a lot of times what we see, and it's for us as well, is breakfast is pretty cyclical. It's pretty similar. You know, I'm okay with repeating the same thing for the most part. I might have some deviations in how I make the eggs, or I might substitute the other protein sources with my eggs just to have some variety. So, that depends on person. Because some people are okay with repeating this similar intake, some people are not. But you just have to have a balance. If you're not going to repeat, you do have to have the ability to maneuver and again stay within those macro close enough to your macro goals and more calories than anything. So really try to make this repeatable as much as possible. What does those meals look like weekly? This is gonna obviously get you hopefully to the 80% marker point, and obviously minimize decision fatigue, minimize grabbing or over consuming. Again, having structure is always going to help because what we focus on obviously can improve. It's just like when we ask you guys to track. I know it can be a pain in the butt, but if we don't have true data points, even yourself, even myself, when I typically jump in and start tracking again, I'm like, oh, I was missing some of these marker points, even though I thought I was close enough. So sometimes we just assume and it's not good enough data. So sorry. Here's here's example. Again, this is going to vary based upon your guys' palate. So example weekly system. So what does your breakfast look like? Is it a Greek yogurt bowl? Is it eggs or toast? Um, how are you going to hit that protein marker point or get close enough to 30 grams? So that has a lot of variance. Lunch, chicken wrap, protein bowl, salad, protein. Again, it's figuring out, okay, what's the protein source that you guys enjoy? How convenient is the meal for you? Or does it need to be more extravagant? It may be if you have the time to put that effort in. Excuse me. And then dinner, you know, can be ground beef, could be chicken, could be salmon. So a variety of protein sources. And then what's your carbohydrate source? Is it rice? Is it veggie? Is it a potato? Any of those, and all of those can be okay. And again, as long as we're staying in with our calorie ranges. So here's just a simple meal formula to think about. So what's your protein, fiber, optional carbs, fats? And many times, if we make a good decision on the carbohydrate, it'll cover your fiber component, or it's higher in fiber, I should say. So when you think about that, it's like, something like broccoli. It's a a win-win there because you're getting more fiber, you're getting a green and more nutrient density, and it's a carbohydrate. So now you can add optional carbs on top. That would be more like the rice and some of the pastas, things like that. Again, you just got to be aware of where your calorie ranges are because some of those carb options could push you over that marker point fairly quickly, and so can fats. But um, it's when you add the dressings and things of that nature, it's easy to compound those calories. So just be careful there. Again, protein foundation drives results. Fiber is going to help you with the sensation of feeling full as well. You stack that combination, and you should have energy and feel full for an extended period of time. So, and then carbs just based upon activity level, recovery, some of your energy components. If we start pulling those, you may have a lull in your energy for the first couple days, but your system typically, your body will typically level out. Um, if you're running low on energy, again, hydration there, I would go after that first. You may be able to add in, electrolyte, and that may help as well on an energy component. So, and then fats are going to support the satisfaction, the sensation of feeling satisfied for an extended period of time as well. So, really, we got to go back to we have to be strategic in having some type of system in place personally or for the family or as a whole, because sometimes it takes a team, right, to feed all the mouths, and being on the same team always helps. That may not always be perfect, but communicating goals and where you're going with the other individuals in your home goes a long way because obviously they could be there to help support you as well, and sometimes maybe they also need to be on that health journey. Who knows? So, you know, when you think about planning and things of that nature, sometimes you do have to bring other help in the family and work as a team. We do. Aaron and I, we'd have never, I mean, obviously, being entrepreneurs, for the past 19 years, our schedule's always been like wonky. And I always had to do help in every format that is possible because, we get pulled different directions. So we have to be pretty flexible in what we can and help and how we help. So it's not always going to be perfect from me, but I will help. And hey, the meal's going to turn out okay. Uh, so sometimes I have I like to follow my own recipe. I get distracted a little bit, but anyway, and it's okay to communicate that. That way everybody's uh, on the same page as much as possible. Convenience is not the problem. Unplanned convenience is. So if we can, you can also do this, pre-cooked proteins and quick carbs. Those are strategies that go a long way as well. And maybe you have some of those as options. And you can buy, pre-cooked proteins. Obviously, they may have some other contents in them to help sustain shelf life. So you got to do sometimes what you need to do to keep yourself on track. And I wouldn't frown upon anybody who hey, if they're not hitting those marker points, they have to do some of these components. Because again, it's not always going to be perfect. And again, it's going to reduce the friction day, speed, increase adherence. And you can do this from a format of pre-cooking X amount of proteins. Uh, and I'll give you examples for the week, or maybe you make it 2 days. Every 2 days you do it, or every 3 days. Good example. We may cook a couple different protein sources on Sunday, knowing that, hey, we're going to eat them or spread them out. Maybe we'll eat them for lunch, maybe we'll eat them for dinner, whether it's on the grill or bake or whatever, depending on the season. So typically we have some already prepared protein available in the fridge. And then we also, like I said earlier, make a list of proteins that you always have. We always have those. We typically always have Greek yogurt. We always have a protein powder. We always typically have, a cottage cheese, and then we have a couple different protein sources in lean meats that we can cook. I'm just giving you an example. Again, we have typically we always have fresh fruit again for the kids. We have some type of salad mix or salads. We typically always have some type of whether it's green bean or broccoli, we do a lot of those components that we can cook quickly, and then we still, have a higher fiber and get the nutrient density out of it. So I'm just giving you the quick, those are typically always in the fridge. Obviously, we go a little bit deeper than that, but you want to try to make it as convenient as possible for success. So grocery list, obviously, this will go way deeper. And you guys, if you guys are familiar with or use any type of AI or chat GPT, this it is a great tool for things like this because what you can do is put this information, even put your macro, your personal calorie goals, protein goals in ChatGPT and ask it to build out menus and or recipes, and then you could break it all the way down to grocery list for you, and you can even tell it to build out for a family of five, and it'll do all that for you. So if you have the opportunity to play around with it, it's a great tool for planning to accelerate the process, right? My brother-in-law he'll even take pictures of what he has in his house and then tell ChatGPT to make to choose a meal for him to hit a specific macro. And then he'll also use ChatGPT to tell him if he has a grocery list, what's the quickest way to go with a grocery shop, and it gives him all that. But he's in tech, so he loves that stuff. So this is just a example. Obviously, your protein is going to be specific, and I told you here in the beginning, and I think I'll have it here in another couple of slides. Is hey, here's some strategies you can do personally. Go ahead and list out five proteins. What is your protein? What is your go-to? What's your quick protein? So rotisserie chicken, Greek yogurt, protein shake, carbs, and these are going to be a little bit more convenient components. Microwave rice, potatoes, wraps, frozen veggies as well. Obviously they stay, or pre-cut fruit. Again, that's what we have. We typically always have that available. So, emergency nutrition plan. If you don't have a plan for your worst day, it will control your results, right? Because you have to have some type of fallback as well, a system. Um, you want to create go-to meals, for busy times. If you know you're going to get slammed, here's what you're going to do. And it does it have to be perfect? No. Does it have to be gourmet as well? It has to be good enough. Again, if you're in a pinch, a protein shake plus some type of fruit is fantastic. That's the way you get your carb and your protein. Yogurt plus a little bit of granola. You just got to watch the granola. It can turn into a lot of calories fairly quickly. And obviously try not to skip meals if you can. Always simplify and grab something that's going to keep your insulin stable as much as possible. So here's, some things that you can do. So what is some contingency or emergency plans at home, right? So if you guys, because things happen, right? We have everything planned. We're going to eat this, and then the schedule changes. What would be an easy go-to, protein source, veggie source for you that you have as like kind of the backup plan that you can fall back on? Okay, what does it look like when you're on the go? Do you have, RTD, so ready to drink? Excuse me. Do you have uh, some type of beef jerky or jerky sticks? So I'm just giving you examples, or a bar, obviously a protein bar. Um, when you get caught, or when you're running around or running errands, or getting kids from point A to point B. So you always have to think about that or have that, right? Again, at restaurants, how do you navigate? I talked about that, a few um, presentations ago. Again, build it around protein. Okay, what does it look like? And then what's the veggie? How's it prepared? Portion. So there's a simple format you can follow and navigate most restaurants and be okay. Okay. Um, so really you got to figure out, hey, what makes sense for you for your emergency plan, contingency plan? Do you have one in place that makes sense for you and your family on the go at restaurants? So you want to try to have some of these components in place. Again, these are more. real life scenario. So you get home exhausted 6:30 p.m., later than you usually, I don't know. I'm just giving you examples. What do you eat, right? The contingency plan. And maybe you've already got everything set up to just do a quick reheat and use some of those go-to meals that are pre-prepared. You know, scenario two, you skip lunch. What's your recovery move? So if you get caught up and you didn't get your lunch in, do you have a protein shake, protein bar available that you can consume? You probably want to have those things available in some format. Again, traveling, what's your default order? What does that look like? Again, I can tell you, but you got to execute the process, right? Think about the protein. How's it made? Is there extra sauces on it? Can they put them to the side? Can you minimize the carbohydrate? Can you go more complex carbs? Then portion control. So there's ways that you can navigate and still stay ahead. This is a good one, right? If it's not in your house, you will not eat it. Um, and there's a lot of truth to that. But some people get in a mindset or mind frame that they feel like they're getting robbed or restricted from something. And you just may want to reframe the thought process. Um, again, this is going to be individually driven. We try to keep a lot of sweets out of our house, for the most part. Because we go watch these young kids, they sneak around and start eating stuff. So and that's why we always have fresh fruit available. Because many times, I'll get off a call later, something runs over, and I go upstairs and half the strawberries are gone. I would much rather have them consuming the strawberries than cookies, right? So, it's just what you have available and kind of the process. If they're hungry, they're going to eat it. So, um, shop by category, not necessarily recipes, or you can, that's again, that becomes specific to the individual. Always think about what's your protein, what does it look like? Um, you want to make good decisions easy as possible for you and your family. So you really want to try to simplify it instead of complicate it. So here's just an example of what you can do. Cook 2 to 3 proteins, or maybe you just have them. You can either have some pre-cooked or some not, depending on how long it takes to prepare that specific protein, right? 2 to 3 carbs, um, 1 to 2, fresh fruit options, stock protein snacks, like I talked about. What does that look like for you? I gave you some examples. And then what you can do, choose 1 or 2 recipes that are simple that you can make. Hey, your protein source, right? Your carbs may or may not have some, fresh fruit in there. That's again up to you. You may have another carb source or more fibrous carb. Again, have those go-to recipes that maybe you cycle every 2 weeks. You can maneuver from different meals. Again, this is kind of the thing I talked about, the eating out system, protein first, veggies, minimize simple carbs, right? Keep it simple. Consistency beats perfection. Again, then you would go to, hey, if you didn't have some of these options, then you'd default back to, okay, the protein source, and then you would go, okay, portion control, and make sure you don't overconsume from there. I mean, these are a couple different examples. Chipotle bowl with protein, steak with potato, grilled chicken sandwich. Eggs, obviously always a go-to with a breakfast option because you can get your protein source up without taking in a lot of other calories. And these are more of the common mistakes. Overcomplicating meals, making it too complicated. And again, some people have a skill set to do that. I don't. Erin will, when she has a little bit more time in the weekend, she will take a little bit more time in preparation, and do because she does enjoy cooking, and trying different recipes. So again, those are personality and traits that certain individuals have and certain do not, and that's okay because you can still get from point A to point B. The big thing is no preparation, no system, no structure within your environment. That's where we get in trouble. So relying on motivation, yeah, that's not going to happen because we get tired. Um, Again, no system, skipping meals. These are all the mistakes I see. I've coached individuals, and you know, if this is you, I'm not trying to put you down or anything, but they would wake up and not know what their first meal was going to be. Some of the guys I've coached over the years, and they just, hey, I'm just going to go here and eat. And I'm like, hey, we got to get some structure in place. So, you want to have some ideas and structure because it's going to help make it easier and less stressful for you. So more action plans, what you want to think about, what's your protein foods for you and your family? What works? What are they? You can list, three to five, or you can keep it simple. You can keep it three. What are my breakfast components? You can push, you may be able to push up to three. I really keep it around one or two options and change those. But what are your goes to that's going to get you in that 30-gram marker point? Okay. What is lunch? Again, um, you can build out three different lunches that keep you within the parameters. Same thing with dinner. So this is again, I know it takes a little bit of time, but once you do this, you have it. You have this information. And then what you can do is obviously wash, rinse, repeat, or slightly tweak and change. Because sometimes what you can do is just by changing, maybe a sauce on a protein changes the whole dynamic of the taste, right? Or the preparation of certain products. So there's just different ways to manipulate different meals you plan to give you enough variety and to mitigate the burnout component. And then always have emergency plan, like I talked about at home, right? What's the protein on the go? What's the restaurant? And maybe you like us, if we get caught up and like, oh, we got through all the food and we just didn't make it back to the grocery. We have certain restaurants we know we can go and navigate and stay on task fairly easy here locally. And that would be like an emergency component. Hey, we're going to go here because we know XYZ. Again, this is more of the true work is, I talked about it in the beginning. You're no longer, I'm trying to eat better. You're the person who has a system and follows it. Okay, you're the person that does these things. So it's really an identity shift because, again, just like anything else, the non-negotiables and the things you build in becomes part of what you do in the environment you're creating. Just like brush your teeth, right? You're always going to hit your 30 grams of protein per meal, and it becomes a part of a rhythmic pattern of what you do. And it's built in with the environment, and then that will roll over, to the other individuals who are in your environment. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and that was the last slide. Any questions? What I wanted to do with this is really just because, again, I had this topic, I don't know, probably about a year ago. Um, it's more about structure and what works for you guys. I can give you all the recipes in the world, but that doesn't mean you guys are going to like them, right? And that's why we have the ability to do all those recipes, meal plans. We've done that for years. But again, our goal for you guys is to take these concepts and educational components and make them part of what you do and try to simplify it as much as possible. And again, every person's a little bit different. Every person's environment's a little bit different, so they're going to have to make small adjustments to make sure it fits within their individual environment. So that's why I like making a list, non-negotiables, making a list of the proteins, making a list of vegetables, making a list of go-to recipes to have them. making having the emergency plan in place. Because once you have all that component, it's kind of an easy fallback mechanism, and that way it minimizes your decision making, and it minimizes and mitigates some of the stress response. I know it does take effort to do this process, but once you start getting the system in place, it becomes a lot easier to replicate. So, with that said, I'm going to open it up and see if you guys have any specific questions for me.
Not a question, but more of a statement. Like for me, I've found that keeping things simpler um is easier for me. Like I don't try to overcomplicate what I do eat. Like I'm very habitual when I eat the same thing for breakfast, usually couple options because I work from home. I usually have kind of the same things for lunch and then dinners where I usually have maybe more variety because there's different meats that I would choose from, like if we're grilling a burger or pork chops or that kind of thing, right? Or chicken. Um, and then I just, yeah, I think if I had any advice for people trying to like eat better, it's just keeping it simpler and just always thinking ahead. Like if I have to go to a client's office and I'm not going to be back for lunch, like I'll make sure that I pack like chicken breasts that I have like and I cut it up and put in a container with veggies and fruit and like so I have something so I'm not like defaulted to go to a gas station and then now I'm overwhelmed because I'm looking at labels and then I just don't even know what the best option is and so it really is planning and thinking ahead as best as you can and just trying to keep it simple because trying to complicate things like I don't make recipes like we don't do recipes we're just simple eat a meat and veggies or side kind of family. Like I don't, we don't do recipes. It's probably because my husband doesn't eat mixed foods, and so that probably helps. Um, and so that's just how we kind of. And I always just make like extra things for myself, like veggies that maybe my child who's picky and my husband would never eat, because that's just always something I do for myself because it's something that I want for me.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
smart.
doesn't mean that
Yeah,
your family will always do the same as you. Not that you're going to cook three different meals, but like I always have the one basic part, which is the meat. And then it's like, what are we eating with the meat, you know?
yep, yep. No,
So,
yep. That's again, every person's gonna have a little bit of variety in their environment, what they like, how they operate. We're just trying to give you the tools to navigate your specific situations. And yeah, and you know, obviously there's all different types of some people really enjoy getting into the recipes and things, and um, we've done all that. So we've tried all different types of food service over the years, just based upon convenience and us going. And you know, some of them are good, and then some of them, what typically happens with some of the food services and those types of things is you get burnt out on them because it's like wash, rinse, repeat. But yeah, no, what you truly want to do is identify what works for you, build the systems in place to keep you inside the guardrails. Obviously, with having multiple individuals, in the household, not everybody's going to want to eat exactly the same thing, but we have to get them close enough, and then obviously have a little bit of variety for everybody to be satisfied. So I get that from having small kids. It's a different day, a different battle.
yeah, because something you can make like 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden they're like, my taste buds have changed. I don't like that anymore. And I'm over here like, what do you mean you don't like it anymore? Like, how do you not like it?
It
I'm
doesn't
like,
make sense.
I'm glad I bought more of that. And now nobody's gonna
Yeah.
eat it because it was for
Hey,
you.
Aaron just went through that this morning.
Oh,
We were packing their lunches, and they told us they didn't like these snacks. And Aaron's like, "Well, I just bought more of them." Yep, that's always fun. And I don't eat those things, so I don't know what we're gonna do with them.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Nope, that's valid.
Any other questions or scenarios you guys um, would like to talk through or have questions about?
Yeah, I still struggle with the restaurants. Like we went to a restaurant the other night and the menu wasn't online, so I couldn't prepare. And then you get there and I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, I think this is plenty of protein. And then I take a picture of it and do my AI after I get done eating it. And I'm like, well, crap, that was only like 20 grams. So I'm not making my protein tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hard part with restaurants, specifically if they, obviously putting all the breakdown on the menu is fantastic, but that's a lot of work for restaurants to do, specifically if they're local. That becomes challenging because many times, not all the time, but many times the protein is under, right? Grams and all the carbohydrates over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
so
mean, it's not a lot of protein on it, but it was a small plate.
I
So
get
it was
okay,
like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was like all chicken, but it was just a very small. I mean, I basically needed two servings, but I'm, yeah, I'm like, all
But I
right,
mean,
well,
but if you still got 20 grams, that's still a good marker point. Obviously, sometimes we're not going to hit those marker points every time. If we're a little bit low and we're close enough, it's going to be good enough.
so is it bad then? Let's say, okay, I had like a big protein breakfast with like, 40 or 50 grams and then dinner's 20. I mean, is that
No, you're fine. Sometimes you have to do
okay?
that. Sometimes it's not going to be specifically spread out evenly. That happens to me all the time. I mean, sometimes I have to navigate. If I'm running behind, I might push my lunch really heavy in protein, or my dinner. I don't like doing dinner heavy, heavy. I mean, it's enough, but
Yeah,
I'm not a big eater, so I can get behind and never make up for it.
yeah,
So yeah, no, you can. Sometimes you're not. It's not going to be spread equally across the board, and that's okay.
okay. So I guess then, I mean, yeah, maybe just eat more if I'm going out, eat more protein in the morning and at
Yep.
lunch, and then that way it's just
Yeah, you're close
gravy
enough.
if I
Yeah,
have extra protein.
yeah, you're close enough to hit your marker point. Because 20,
Yeah.
I mean, 20 grams is not a bad meal by any means.
Okay.
Yeah, restaurants are always going to be a little tricky. You just have to do the
Yeah.
best you can.
And you don't know until after you've gotten the food too. I mean, it's not like I could, a lot of times, like with recipes, because I do cook a lot, so I'm not a simple person. So I'll put my whole recipe in so I
Yeah,
can see what it is and see if I have to tweak it before I cook it. And that way I know, okay, I need to add another egg to my protein bowl, or like
yeah,
I was
no,
making a power bowl for breakfast, and I'm like, oh, I need 2 ounces of chicken apparently too, because the
no.
eggs aren't in it.
That's a great strategy. I mean, that's smart. Like that way you can maneuver the macros based upon staying within inside what close enough to what you need.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a good strategy because then you can just manipulate the recipe to fit your needs.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say the whole prepping thing is, yeah, that's key. I mean, we started doing the rotisserie chicken, and we make roasted potatoes, sweet potatoes, and regular potatoes at the beginning of the week, so we just have something just in case. We make a thing of ground chicken. My husband cooks his eggs and ground chicken, or I may add it to ground. Just that I've got it's like that emergency protein
Yeah,
in the fridge
that's
at all times.
yeah, it's perfect. I mean, we've been doing it for years and years. I mean, we kind of had to out of necessity, just based upon schedules, and it's just become part of what we do on a weekly basis. But it helps. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah, and the yogurt, the Greek yogurt's been a game changer. And are you guys the one that are buying up all the Oikos Pro Greek yogurt?
Probably
It's like
so.
impossible to find.
Probably so. I
Because,
think we have 3 containers in our fridge right now.
well, Mike just bought three because it took to four grocery stores to find it.
Yep. I mean, it's a staple and it's an easy way I mean, because I use it a lot to add to help compound my protein in whatever it looks like, right? So
Mhm.
I add that quite often to different meals.
We just started doing that too, like for pastas and stuff. It makes it kind of a creamy. Like
Yep.
I do a lot of orzo and vegetables, and I add in some some Greek yogurt, and then it makes it creamier,
Yep.
and I get my protein with little calories. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Nope. Hey, that's
We
it.
love the plain Greek yogurt now.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a little bit to get used to, but once you get used to it, I mean, it becomes a staple. And again, it's very versatile. That's good. Hey, you're doing awesome though. So keep it up.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, like, maybe when if like you went to the restaurant and it didn't have enough protein, and at that point it's like too late to order more extra protein, right? Because then you're gonna have to wait for them to cook more. Like maybe if you were still short on protein when you got home, you could always like have like a protein shake or some Greek yogurt with just some berries on it or something like that if you're really short, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can do those. I mean, I get this question all the time. The biggest thing is don't push over your calories.
Right.
So again, if you're close enough to your protein, and as long as we don't push over your calories, we're okay.
So that's a good then. The staying under your calories is more important than being having enough protein.
Yes.
Okay.
Because again, as long as we're close enough with protein, so I know a lot of individuals that we say, above that 100 gram mark, some of them are higher, right? We have a little bit different for each individual. Baseline 100 grams for a woman is typically a good baseline for the protein. Obviously, we probably like a little bit higher, but again, you're close to that marker point, we're probably okay. And it's going to fluctuate, right? So again, what protein does in a format is again it helps tamp down the hunger, stabilize your blood sugar, your insulin response. So it does all those other components to help you maintain a calorie restriction. And that's that. I mean, it's a tool. Awesome. Any other questions? Good. Well, I'll go ahead and wrap her up here. And again, I've been going through all um, the survey, so I appreciate you guys filling that out. And I'll try to pull, obviously different topics based upon what you guys filled out. So I appreciate that, and it'll give me some other talking points to help you guys out. Well, awesome. Well, you guys have a great day. If you need anything else, never hesitate to reach out, and I'll talk with you soon.
Thanks.
Yep. We'll see you.